Folks, it is officially 2:15. Pleased to meet y'all. My name is Roberto. I am a senior. First of all, thumbs up. Can you hear me with this mic? Awesome. Appreciate it. Okay, great. I am Roberto. Thanks so much for joining this hands-on workshop with Databricks and DBT. Welcome to New Orleans. This is personally my first time here, so super excited to be in the Big Easy. So to introduce myself, Roberto, Senior Solutions Architect, joined by all-star team here, Pradeep, Senior Partner Solutions Architect, Prasad, also Senior Partner Solutions Architect. So I'll hand it to Pradeep for a sec to get started with the prereqs, and then we'll dive right on in.
All right, thanks all for joining. You should find a sheet in front of your seat. The sheet should have a quick start guide link and a Slack channel, and also a lab environment link. And these links are case sensitive. So let's start with the quick start guide. Could you guys give me a thumbs up if you can get to the quick start guide, please? Okay, we'll wait for everyone to get into the quick start guide.
Raise your hand if you have any trouble or anything. They're here to help you, so raise your hand and we'll get you set up with everything.
That's how the quick start guide looks. So I'll give it like 15 seconds and check again. All right, can I get a confirmation? Is everyone able to get to the quick start guide? Give me a thumbs up, please. Okay, I think most of you can. Then the lab environment link, you can see, that's also case sensitive. So what you need to do is, once you get to the link, it will ask you to register. Then it will actually send you a environment, like credentials and everything, onto your email. And that's how you log in. When you log in, just make sure you're in incognito tab. Window, whatever, just in case you were logged into your Databricks account, just to make sure you're not conflicting there. We'll give it a moment because it does take a little bit.
Once you successfully navigate that process, this is what you should see with the Databricks UI. So navigate to that URL, enter the credentials. This is what you should see, something in this vein. If you don't, raise your hand and we'll be happy to assist. Okay. Thank you.
All right. So you see on the screen, that's how the credentials will look once you log into the Cloud Labs environment or the link that you get. And that will have a Azure Databricks link with your username and password.
Okay, great. So we'll just talk through the slides. This is a good opportunity. Don't worry if you haven't gotten it set up yet. Raise your hand. We'll be in slides for the next few minutes, so it's fine if you haven't gotten it fully set up. Yeah, so here's the agenda. Again, raise your hand anytime you're stuck. We're more than happy to assist. Yeah, so obviously we'll be diving into the introduction, agenda, pre-course setup. Then for 45 minutes, we'll be walking through a hands-on session where you'll actually be quote-unquote ingesting data, transforming it with DBT Cloud, and then building a lightweight dashboard in Databricks SQL. And yeah, from there, talk very quickly about ML, leave some time at the end for Q&A, and then wrap up. So don't be shy. This is meant to be pretty interactive. Any issues you face, raise your hand. Happy to assist. And yeah, let's make this an enjoyable session. All right, great. So I personally am not the biggest fan of slides, so I'll leave the slides to be pretty quick. Let's go into presentation mode. Yeah, so we already kind of talked through the presenters, so I'll go ahead and skip there. You have myself, you have Pradeep, you have Prasad. Here's the agenda. Housekeeping, so yeah, there's a Slack channel. If you want to join it, go ahead, join it, and obviously you know the prereqs. There's a bit.ly link, just some minor logistical prereqs that you all can navigate. Here's a Slack workspace in case you want to ask questions there, although not as relevant since we're in person and Prasad and Pradeep are here to help you out. Yeah, super quick, Databricks, data and AI company. We call ourselves a data lakehouse platform. So what that means is a simple, performance, collaborative platform for all your SQL-based ETL, BI, ML, and streaming use cases. And we have over 6,000 customers across every vertical and every company size, from really tiny startups to really huge, giant Fortune 1 companies. So you can see some of those logos there. And yeah, again, we talk lakehouse, so you know, that's kind of how we position ourselves in the market as the lakehouse platform. And then, of course, this leads to a very natural partnership with DBT, right? DBT, best-in-class tool for SQL-based transformations on top of the warehouse or lakehouse. So they fit very well into kind of the platform that we build as kind of the back-end columnar cloud-based data warehouse. Compute gets pushed down, and you get all the nice magic compilation and version and source control that DBT has to offer. So very natural partnership that we have, and you know, very much you're able to build your modern data stack with, let's say, an ingest tools like Fivetran Stitch, DBT for transformation, Tableau Looker for visualizations, and then Databricks as your back-end compute. And yeah, here's an example architecture of pretty much exactly what I stated. So if you're a visual learner, ingest perspective, get that into the lake, DBT for transformations, and then BI and visuals on top of that. Okay, great. Now to the moment that you're all here for, which is the hands-on workshop component. So thumbs up if you've opened up the workspace and see a Databricks UI, have been able to navigate that process. Let me see some thumbs. All right, for those, while you're waiting for those to provision, there is a step we can take that also takes some time. So for those that have a workspace, if you can navigate to the SQL tab here, and then click on SQL warehouses, as you see here in this left-hand nav bar, you should see a warehouse called, yes? Yes. And we'll send these out after the session as well. You'll have access to all the collateral, so yeah. If you want to take a quick pic, definitely go for it. Sure thing. Okay, yeah, so while we're waiting, you can go to SQL warehouses here. You should see something called the starter warehouse. Go ahead and start that warehouse. So obviously I already have it started, but you should see a start button on the top right. Go ahead and start it. This will be the back-end compute that's going to handle all your SQL-based ETL and SQL-based BI. So yeah, go ahead and start that. And if you run into any issues, raise your hand and let us know. So we'll give a few minutes for folks to catch up and for these warehouses to spin up. So yeah, in 2-3 minutes, we'll move on with the lab. But if we want you all obviously to participate, so any issues, please raise your hand and we'll assist. %? All right. Yes. You don't see anything for environment details? Interesting.
I haven't used any company, but I don't have Databricks other than this.
Right. Yeah, that is definitely not the expected outcome. Okay, let me flag down Pradeep or Prasad. Yeah, the same situation, okay. Who all has a situation where they have, oh, you're good. Oh, so you do have a data, did that spin it? Okay. Who has had the Cloud Labs UI load up but doesn't have a workspace URL or credentials? It just shows up. You click environment details and nothing is there. Does anyone else have that situation? Okay, Okay, so keep refreshing until it shows up. Okay. It's working? Okay, try refreshing. If you're seeing that issue, try refreshing. The most classic troubleshooting tip in the book. Try refreshing, see what happens. Okay, great. We'll give another minute or two. The good news is if you have the guide loaded up, you can always catch up. We're going to move pretty slowly, so we'll give another minute or two and then proceed with the rest of the lab. Okay, great. Again, experiencing any issues, raise your hand. For now, we'll keep going in the interest of time. And if you fall a bit behind, don't worry. Again, we'll send all this out afterwards. So either you can catch back up in this session or try it on your own and catch up on your own and let us know if you have any questions. So yeah, I'll go ahead and continue with the lab. So ideally, you'd have your own little workspace page here, right? And you would have started up that warehouse. So now that that warehouse is up, you have your backend infrastructure that's going to handle all the SQL-based ETL and BI workloads. So now, from an ingestion perspective, I'll very quickly talk about Partner Connect. So this is our kind of simple ecosystem to integrate with all the common tools that are in the data analytics kind of ecosystem. So as you can see, from an ingestion perspective, we have Fivetran, Rivery, etc. Obviously, from a BI perspective, Power BI, Tableau, Hex, etc. And then from a data preparation and transformations perspective, DBT. So yeah, in terms of integrating and kind of having simple access to all these different tools that you currently use in your stack, Partner Connect is a great way to facilitate those integrations and connections. In fact, that'll be how we connect to DBT Labs very shortly. So just wanted to make you aware of that UI. Now, in the meantime, you can either follow along here or in the quick start guide if you have it open. We're going to go ahead and load in the retail data, the data that we will then transform with DBT Labs and then build a lightweight dashboard off of in a very lightweight ML model. So if you can go ahead and copy the exact syntax that you see here in this gray box, it's basically going to create some schemas that's going to allow us to load some retail tables and do kind of a standard source staging dimension kind of paradigm, right? That is common with all you folks that use DBT. So go ahead and run this directly in the interface is the simplest way. So if you navigate over to the SQL editor, it's basically a lightweight IDE to orchestrate all your different SQL queries, right? So you can go ahead and write the query text for the operations that are listed in this gray box here in page 4 of the guide. So again, follow along either with me or independently with the guide, and any issues, you have Prasad, you have Pradeep, they'll be happy to assist you. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this query. So we'll go ahead and create it here, and you can run it against your starter warehouse here. So if you navigate to the right, you pick that warehouse, and then as you see on the left, the metadata for the tables are loading. So you can give it a second to load, but ultimately we just need to create these queries here. So we go ahead and run selected. Just a simple copy and paste operation here. We'll give it a sec. Okay, great. Ideally, you get something in the vein of use schema retail successfully executed. Again, if you didn't, hand up and we'll assist. So that is the first set of kind of metadata operations there. Now, from an actual ingestion perspective, we're going to be using kind of demo retail data. So all of this is CSV in this bucket called Databricks datasets, right? Which is basically a bunch of open source datasets that you can use to kind of test out the platform and get a sense for the full range of capabilities. So go ahead and again, copy all that and then paste it in, and you'll be able to create kind of your raw tables that are based on those raw CSV retail data that are uploaded into kind of this like open source S3 bucket. So if you can, go ahead, copy that, and you can either run it in the same little ID experience, right? Or you can create a new query, right, if you'd like, which is essentially a new worksheet for those that are used to Snowflake. You go ahead, copy that, and then run up top here. So we'll go ahead and run all, and that's going to create our 3 kind of source tables, so retail.customers, loyalty segments, and sales orders. So we'll go ahead and execute that operation there. Obviously, something cool is going on next door. All right, we'll give this a second to load here. Okay, great. So once that loads, we'll just run some simple test queries, make sure that everything appears to be functioning as expected, and then proceed to the next steps with DBT Labs. So great, looks like these tables were created. We can go ahead and refresh some metadata, and that should be reflected. Oh, that's the default schema. Let's use the retail schema. Okay, great. Awesome. Cool. One quick, easy way to verify that your tables are created successfully. We just navigate to the schema name, which is retail, and then the 3 tables show here in retail with all their kind of metadata around columns, data type, etc. So we'll run one last query to just verify that things look to be good. So pick any of these 3 queries, pick 2 of them, pick all 3, whatever you need to successfully confirm that the data was loaded in. We'll just go ahead and click run here. Okay, great. Now we will pause to make sure that everyone is kind of going the same pace here. So if you're kind of not able to reach the stage where you've uploaded those tables and verified that everything looks good, please raise your hand and we can assist you there. Just to get a pulse check of the room, can I get a thumbs up if you've been following along so far and everything is good? Okay, love to see it. Love to see it. That's definitely solid 2/3 there, it seems like. Okay. Awesome. So, all right, 30 seconds, and then we'll move on to the subsequent steps here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can run on any warehouse. It doesn't have to be the starter warehouse. Any one of them that's running, go ahead and execute the logic against whatever's running. Alrighty, folks, let's dive right on in. We have a half hour here and lots of exciting content. Okay, great. Now you all are DBT aficionados, so now is a part where we'll get to kind of interface directly with the DBT and Databricks connector via DBT Cloud, right? So to do that, we can go ahead and navigate to Partner Connect here. So what I was showing y'all earlier, we'll go ahead and full screen this. Okay, great. So you should see DBT here, right? That iconic X, orange X kind of situation. We can go ahead and click on that. Okay, great. So pick a warehouse, a running warehouse, which you should all have because you ingested all that data. Then select the schema. In this case, we'll be selecting from the retail schema. Okay, great. And then as you can see, by doing that, it's going to grant permissions to DBT, right? So essentially what goes on behind the hood that's abstracted away from you is that we'll create a service principal, which is an identity basically for third-party services to push down logic to Databricks clusters, right, or warehouses. And as such, that identity needs certain permissions to execute certain operations. So that's essentially what's going on there. So we're selecting the retail schema and then granting certain permissions to the service principal. Then we're clicking next. Okay, great. So everything, as you can see, the PAT, the personal access token, everything is handled under the hood for you. So ideally, the goal is UI-based Partner Connect ecosystem, take under 10 minutes to integrate to any new tool. So start your stopwatches. Let's see if we're able to hit that SLA there. Okay, great. Awesome. So you should see your email pre-populated that you signed up via Cloud Labs, right? The credentials that it gave you should give you the email here. And then as you can see, all the magic auto magic that was done under the hood, right, that I was telling you about, the PAT, all the credentials or the connection information for the warehouse, all that is filled in for you. So all you have to do is click this nice blue button, connect to DBT Cloud, which will kick off a 2-week free trial. So let's get a pulse check of the room. How many of y'all use DBT Cloud today? Okay, almost half. How about DBT Core, for those that didn't raise their hand for DBT Cloud? Okay, who doesn't use DBT at all, just out of curiosity? Don't be shy, don't be shy. Okay, awesome. Okay, great, so got a good mix of DBT Cloud folks, DBT Core, and people that are interested in DBT. Okay, great, so go ahead and log on in there. Okay, great. Awesome, so that should kick off a process for you. Let me go ahead and, okay, so I already have a DBT Cloud account, which will lead to some funky behavior, but ideally you're navigating there into the DBT Cloud UI. Okay. We'll give it a sec here. So yeah, I should be kicking off the 2-week free trial and going through that whole flow. Yeah, there might be some wonky behavior for me because I already have an existing account, but you all should ideally see a new instance. Let me go ahead and, what is this user here? Okay, great, awesome. Sorry, let me see if I can get this credential here, ODL. 1 second. ODL instructor. 75914. Okay, that's fine. All right, so thumbs up if you're in the DBT Cloud UI. Perfect. Okay, great. So what you can do now is go ahead and let's go back to the guide here. Okay, apologies. Okay, great. So the next step, if we're following along on page 10 of the guide here, so we'll go ahead and, so we kicked off the flow, we kicked off the whole free trial kind of situation. Okay, great, you should have completed registration. Now we'll go ahead, you can upload your development schema. So yeah, in the Databricks interface, we're gonna generate what's called a personal access token. So to kind of call any API, right, or do any kind of terraforming or any kind of back-end automation situation, you need an identity, and the way you can do that is with the personal access token. So go ahead, create a new PAT. You can do DBT retail or something along those lines. Give it a lifetime of 90 days. So we'll go ahead and generate that. Okay, great. Go ahead and copy and paste that because we're going to need it in the DBT Cloud interface. Okay, great. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is enter that PAT. So we go to the profile settings here, and then go ahead and click on, where is this UI here? Click generates. Okay, so we want to click on the Partner Connect project here. So we can go to credentials. Okay, great. And then you can enter your token here. So just go ahead and edit this and enter your credentials for that DBT partner trial. Obviously, mine is a little different because I already use this environment, but essentially you're clicking on the credentials for the partner trial and then inputting your PAT there. So go ahead and click save for that. And then as those of y'all that use DBT know, essentially when you're doing development, you want to use your kind of own identity, right, for that development and write to your own kind of schema, right? So that's a typical development process with DBT. And then when you're productionalizing the jobs using DBT Cloud, you'll use the jobs interface here, and then typically tend to run it with some kind of production identity and PAT, right, with the service principal. So we're just facilitating that typical flow there. Okay, great. So now that we have the credentials set, what we can go ahead and do is go to this develop section, right? So all we have here is a classic ID. So we'll go ahead and click that. All right, this will take a minute or two to load. Okay, great. Once it loads, there's going to be a green button on the left-hand corner that's going to say initialize project. So you're going to want to go ahead and initialize that project. And what that's going to do is just like create an example repo that looks something like this, right? That's just a prototypical Jaffle shop example. And we're going to use and build off that to actually develop the kind of transformation logic and push that down against the warehouse. So go ahead and click the initialize project kind of button that you should see here in the top left corner. If you don't see it, definitely let us know. But thumbs up if you're in the process of initializing your project. Okay, seems like a lot of folks aren't. So if you're not, what kind of step are you on if you're not quite on that step yet?
So to generate the personal access token, you have to click on the user settings, the user on the right-hand side, and you will see user settings, and you can just, you'll find a personal access tokens tab. You have to click generate, and that's how you grab it. So that's in the Databricks environment. You take that and put it on the DBT environment while you're setting that up.
Yes. All right, we'll give folks a minute or two to get caught up on that portion. If you need any help, let us know. So basically, we're on the step of initializing that DBT project so we can go ahead and write the .SQL files that are going to compile down to the warehouse. That is where we're at the moment. So let us know. We should be over here, page 10 of the guide. So about halfway through is where we're initializing that DBT Cloud project.
We see that some of you are using your own Databricks accounts with your personal email, etc. So that may not work because it's not set up the same way as the lab environment is. So please make sure you use the Cloud Labs environment so you have the access that you need to be able to create all the objects for the lab. Thank you.
Okay, another pulse check question. How many of y'all have used Databricks before in some capacity? Okay, about 50% here. Nice, nice. All right. Okay, great. So once you've initialized that project, or if you're using a pre-existing account like I am, if you have a repo already there, that also works. Whatever is most convenient for you. But either way, you should be in some kind of phase where this is the UI that you see. So go ahead, and if you've initialized a project, click commit. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to create a dev branch, right? A dev branch off master. We can actually go ahead and modify the files. So if you haven't already, go ahead and click commit. As you can see, I already have a branch open. I have branch 1. So obviously, you want to test things out before modifying your production code. So commit so you can create that branch. And yes, absolutely. Is that better? Perfect. Okay, great. Awesome. So once you have some variant of this, essentially you should see models and you should see example, right? Here's the generic, my first hello world Jaffle shop situation, right? So what you can do is create a folder called retail. And within the retail folder, you can create a staging folder, right? So as you can see, there's a creating the new branch. You're giving it a name like DBT Databricks On Demand or whatever kind of name you want to give it, right? Okay, great. So we're on page 12 of the guide. So here's where we're going to be creating the sources.yaml. So obviously the sources are going to be the tables we just created. So we can go ahead and create that here. So under the retail folder, you can either create a separate staging folder or not, whatever your preference is. But either way, there should be a sources.yaml, where as you can see, we're stating that the schema is retail, right? Because that's where we ingested those CSV files. And we're giving the table names customer, loyalty segments, and sales orders. So these are going to be the sources that are then going to power our transformations for our staging and dimension tables. So go ahead and create that file there, which you can do with these vertical or horizontal circles and then new files. So the first one you want to create sources.yaml and then stage customers.sql. So you see the logic there on page, what page is this? On page 12. So this is going to be a staging model. So it's going to be stage sources.sql is what's going to be the name, right? So you can create a models -staging -retail directory or just model/retail. Either way, this is a name, stage loyalty segments.sql, and here's the code. So very kind of standard DBT best practice code situation. We're designating the source, which is just selecting from that retail customers table, right? And then doing some lightweight feature engineering and transformations to generate that staging tables. So go ahead and just copy and paste that and then input it into the stage customer SQL file here. And as you can see, this generates kind of a nice little lineage tag. So as you can see, the retail customers become stage.customers. And then last but not least, go ahead and create this stage loyalty segments.sql. And yeah, we're going to copy and paste the logic again from step C, copy and paste that. And then you should end up with a SQL file like this. Again, retail loyalty segments, staging loyalty segments. So I'll pause for a sec here. Are folks kind of along these steps? Can I get a thumbs up if folks are following along? Ish, okay. We're seeing a lot of drop off here. If this is like a funnel, not many have made it to the bottom of the funnel. Okay, great. So if you're experiencing, like what is the most, just shout it out. Where are you all at if you're not at this stage, just so we know how to best assist? You're at the sources.yaml? Okay, you're almost there. Where? First commit? Okay. Okay, great. So it sounds like we're within the ballpark of this step, so we'll calibrate pace accordingly and give another 2 minutes here. So yeah, we'll calibrate the pace and let you all catch up. Again, any blockers, let us know. Should have gotten some music here for the waiting moments. If I was a comedian, I'd have some jokes prepared, but sadly, don't have much material. All right, let's see. 20 more seconds. Well, we'll continue at 2:50. This is the stage you should be at. Ideally, we have our models directory and then a retail folder within that with the logic for the sources.yaml and the staging tables that we want to create. Okay, great. Let's mosey on along. So we'll have about, this will be wrapped up in 15, 20 minutes ideally, so bear with us. We're almost there. I know there's kind of a lot of manual setup situations. Okay, great. So next step is to create our MART, right? To create that those dimension tables that will feed our downstream BI and ML use cases. So as you can see, we can create a new folder or create it within an existing folder, whatever the case may be. So we have this dim loyalty segments, and then we can go ahead and take the logic from page 14, right? What you see again in that gray box. Go ahead, copy and paste that. That's going to be our transformation logic that gets pushed down to the warehouse. Yeah, so that is what you should see here. So you should ideally at this stage have your sources.yaml and then 3 .SQL files: stage customers, stage loyalty segments, and dimension loyalty segments. So the logic is here, right? Copy and paste it into this UI. So we'll give a minute or two, and if there's any kind of friction or blockers, let us know. But this is the logic you want to create, and then it should generate a DAG along these lines. So obviously upstream, we have our retail loyalty segments, our retail customers. Then one step downstream is our staging tables, and then one step beyond that is our MART, or our dimension loyalty segment table. Awesome. All right, chugging along here. Okay, great. So you can also open up the project YAML, and then you can go ahead and add the model kind of key situation. So we just basically want to indicate that our marts, we want to materialize those as tables, right? And then in the staging directory as views. So this step isn't entirely necessary, but if you were to follow the paradigm of DBT best practices, right? Like generally the staging, we want to be views, and then anything that's consumed by our BI tool, right? Or a lot of kind of BI use cases, generally materialize that as a table. So optional step, if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. If not, that's also fine as well. Okay, great. This is all building up. This is the exciting part. Okay, now that we've done all the steps of writing those .SQL files, right? Here's the fun part where we actually get to do DBT run. So we're going to go ahead, do DBT run, compile those and build those models against the warehouse, right? And then see those get materialized in the DB SQL interface. So go ahead and execute DBT run here. So DBT run in the DBT Cloud UI for those that aren't familiar. Go ahead, click enter, and it's going to go ahead and compile and run those models. So DBT run, ideally it runs successfully. That is the goal here. So go ahead and try that out, and if there's any questions, let us know. So we'll give it a few seconds here so that the SQL can run. Ideally, when you click run, it should have found the models, right, and any unit tests and macros. So that's a good initial indication. Okay, great. So who has started the run of the DBT model? Thumbs up, or raise your hand. Okay, handful of folks. Okay, so we'll give it a few minutes to run. Again, honestly, I think this is set up to a warehouse in a different environment. So yeah, we'll give it a minute or two, and then we'll proceed with the last step, which is to take these models and actually do some lightweight BI analytics on top of it and build a nice, pretty dashboard. So that will be the final step of the session here. Has anyone had the models run successfully? Perfect, okay. Yeah, I would ignore this. This is a lot of clutter in my DBT Cloud environment. So good that y'all are experiencing a smoother operation. Yeah, it failed, okay. Not a huge surprise there, but essentially for y'all it succeeded, and if yours failed as well, let us know so we can address that. You shouldn't have as much clutter in your environment as I do. Awesome. Okay, so now we've done all the magic there in DBT Cloud. Now we're transitioning back to Databricks. So what you can do, so go ahead and very quickly navigate to the query history. So you should see all the create table as statements, right? All those that got compiled by DBT Cloud. You should see here in this interface. So if you want to, you can go ahead and click into it, right? So we have a CTA here that's compiled by DBT, and you should be able to see a lot of metadata behind the execution of that operation. So go ahead, click into it, see how long it took, see how much time was spent on each stage, and a bunch of other metadata there. And if you wanted to dive even further, you could go into the query profile. Okay, and then it should generate a DAG. In that DAG, you can, look further to see any kind of performance bottlenecks, troubleshooting, tuning, etc. is available via that UI. And then last thing to point out is that, so the warehouses, right, when you're starting them up here via this UI, obviously Partner Connect takes care of that for you. But if you ever wanted to know what the interface looks like, here's essentially where the warehouse is, the connections detail page, and ideally, so in your environment, you're not leveraging serverless warehouses, but typically that's the best pattern to leverage a serverless warehouse. Okay, great. So on to the funnest part. So go ahead and navigate back to that SQL editor page. So we're gonna go ahead and run kind of one BI type query here. So if we navigate back to that interface, create a new query, we should be at this stage here. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and take the text on page 16. So this 3-line kind of simple select query here, that's going to be joining the staging customers with staging loyalty segments. Go ahead and copy and paste that into this interface here, and then go ahead and run that. So give a sec for folks to get on there. DBT user, staging customers. Select all from, let's change it here. Okay. Oh, thank you, wow. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do retail. Perfect, good catch there. We'll just change the schema names here. Yeah, so if you created it into the DBT user, do that, but otherwise, retail.
So whichever schema you put into configure DBT, that's the schema you'll see the objects in, the tables and views.
Okay, take two. Damn it. Okay, we're selecting all from retail, join. Oh, there's 2 dots, good catch. This is why you all are analytics engineers. You can spot these things quickly. Retail stage customers. Okay. Stage loyalty segments. Okay, that's fine. Stage loyalty. All right. Missing column, okay. That's fine. All right, so has anyone been able to successfully run this query? Yeah, good idea. Retail, okay. That's fine. So you all were able to run this query. So if we follow along the guide here, So essentially, we'll just use this as an example. Okay, great. So once you run that query there, you're able to edit the visualization, right? So you can create tables, but you can create a bunch of other visualizations as well. So line charts, bar charts, pie charts, advanced ones as well, right? Funnel charts. So if you follow along the guide, there's some basic ones that are listed for you. So here, there's a bar chart that you can create customer distributions by state. So if we wanted to go ahead and do a bar chart here, you can make it horizontal. So the Y column, we can make state. So go ahead and pick state. Or in this case, okay, great. And then X column, we can do here. Or we can group by the customer ID. Awesome. Customer ID, count distinct. Okay, great. And then we should get something like this. Save. Okay. Oh, okay. Yes, I will. 1 second. Sorry. Okay. Okay, great. Is that better? Okay, so we have our X columns here, which is customer ID, count distinct. Okay, great. And let me try to remove this group by. Perfect. Okay, that should give us something better. So play around with it. I mean, you're free or welcome to create whatever visualizations your heart desires. But here would be an example here. We can put state as a y-axis, customer ID as x, and just do count. So distinct customers by different state, right? If we're doing some retail analytics. So that's one potential visualization you can create. There's some other ones as well. So if you wanted to create a pie chart, right, looking at loyalty segments, how many customers are in each loyalty segment? So if we have 4 loyalty segments, what percentage is each kind of percentage of total customers are part of that loyalty segment? So you're able to create that visualization. You would just navigate to pie chart here. Another one is we all love time series. So if you wanted to look at sales over time or units ordered over time, right, you can pick on the x-axis a valid from date. You can do units purchased and create kind of a time series situation here. So, you know, you have full creative license here to create whatever visualizations. I encourage you to play around with it. If you want to use the ones in the guide, feel free to use those. If you want to create other ones, it's kind of a drag and drop interface. So go ahead and create, you know, a box and whisker chart or whatever you think would be most relevant. So we'll give 2-3 minutes for y'all to play around with this interface, create different visualizations, right, that you think would be relevant for retail analytics. And then in 2 minutes, we'll talk about to consolidate all those into a dashboard and then do super quick ML experiments, and we should be wrapped up by 3:10. So yeah, if you're not at the step of creating these drag and drop visualizations, raise your hand, let us know. But otherwise, you know, take 2 minutes to play around with this interface.
And let's say you were not able to follow through the lab, you still have that initial data that you loaded, the customer's data. You can basically just use that data instead and just play with some visualizations there.
All right, 5 more minutes here, folks. We'll also leave some time at the end for questions. So yeah, after 3:10, we'll have some questions, and then, you know, feel free to hop on to other sessions or enjoy the Big Easy. But yeah, that's kind of how things are winding down here.
So just want to let you guys know, this Cloud Labs environment that you logged into, the lab environment, that's going to be available for you throughout the coalesce. And we have other Databricks sessions as well, especially the one on Wednesday. Bilal Aslam is the speaker. It's in the morning. Please do check that out. And you can use this environment, play around till end of coalesce. And please feel free to post any questions on the Slack channel. We'll try to answer as much as we can. Thanks.
Thank you, thank you. And also, even funner, we're hosting a party on Wednesday. So if you, have all you can take of data and AI tooling, come to the party and have a good. It's going to be a lot of fun. I guarantee it. Okay, last 5 minutes here. So what we want to do is consolidate all these visualizations into a dashboard. So we can go ahead, click dashboard here, and then create a dashboard. So we'll give it a name. We can give it like retail DBT, something along those lines. Go ahead and save. Okay, great. So what you're able to do is go ahead, click add the visualizations, right? So all the different queries you created, you should be able to search those queries by name. Let me go ahead. Did I name any of mine? Pardon me, one sec. Okay, I did not name them, which is why they're not showing up. So let me go ahead and name this retail. And then save it. Okay, great. Awesome. So yeah, so when I go into this dashboard here, I'm able to create a dashboard. Actually, let's just go back to the one I just created. And then go ahead and edit it. And then we can add the visualizations. So from this retail query, we can add this existing table, right? So I created a table. You can see the table here. You'll be able to add all the bar charts or pie charts or line charts that you created just based on the query name. Click the query name. It should have a list of the visualizations that were created, right? If you select an existing visualization, if you want to create a new one from scratch, you're able to create a new one here, right? And then go ahead and create the visualization. So you get the idea. Go ahead, consolidate all those visualizations you created or create new ones, right, into that pretty dashboard there. And then, yeah, that's kind of the final downstream use case that we have, right? We build the models so our business analysts can go ahead and give these dashboards to the business. And then we're also able to share this dashboard. We can schedule it to run on a consistent cadence. We can refresh it, the whole 9 yards. And worth pointing out, if you already use a Tableau, Power BI, Looker, Mode, Periscope, whatever, we have Partner Connect integration with all those tools. So feel free to keep using those dashboards as well. Whatever floats your boat, just letting you know of the existing capabilities within the platform. And last but not least, the best part is kind of an exciting capability we have called AutoML. So obviously, not everyone has a really huge data science team that's able to build models from scratch. So if you're kind of primarily SQL-based analytics engineer or BI persona, what you can do is use this AutoML capability, which is essentially just I might have to go. I'm not sure if you'll be able to do it in your environment, but just to give you a sense of the art of the possible, let's load this up into another demo environment. Okay, great. So we can go ahead, click Start AutoML. So essentially, you'll be able to, because you all are using warehouses. So these rely on clusters that are not a warehouse. So you probably won't be able to do in that environment. But if you all have Databricks or a community edition trial, right, you'll be able to select a cluster, select an ML problem type. So common one for retail data set is forecasting. So forecasting using, let's say, profit, right? Forecasting sales. We could browse a data set. So in this case, some of the retail tables that we created. So in this case, we can go to retail. Give it a sec to load up here. Okay, great. So we have our retail schema. We're going to go ahead and choose sales orders. And then you see all the columns here for our sales orders table. We select our prediction target, which is just the quantity of orders. Our time series, which in this case is the order date time, right? So in under 3 minutes, we're able to start that AutoML experiment, which is going to kick off a sequence of kind of model runs under the hood, right? That's going to go ahead and do a bunch of different kind of parameter combinations to see what the most performant model is. And I'm not going to subject you to wait 2 hours for that to load. So we'll go ahead and navigate to one that already finished. Let me just go ahead and load that up here. Okay, great. Here's a finished run here that we can reference. Okay, great. So as you see, all these kind of notebooks are generated under the hood. I don't have to do anything, so it's going to generate an EDA notebook for me here. So all the kind of manual EDA that I had to do before, right, that all gets surfaced. So in terms of metadata around the different columns, correlations between the columns, things of that nature, right, all that EDA charts are generated here. And then the most exciting part, so it's going to generate a notebook for the highest performing model according to the evaluation criteria that I set forth. So as you can see, this was trained using Profit, and then all the different steps from loading to feature engineering to the actual training and evaluation, right? That is all generated under the hood. So you're able to go ahead and either plug and play, just use this as a model, so register it to the model registry and start doing batch and real-time prediction, or it's loaded into your environment. You have access to all the source code. You can manipulate, you can alter, you can change it in accordance with your business needs, and then expedite the time to production. So previously it would have taken 3 months to build a sales forecasting model. Now it takes a month because you can generate this notebook under the hood and just build off of this template. So very exciting stuff. AutoML, if you haven't used it, would definitely recommend checking it out. We also have what are called solutions accelerators. So in that same vein, code for common use cases, forecasting, customer churn, demand forecasting, customer lifetime value. We've seen it 100 times. There's pre-baked source code notebooks that we offer for all those use cases. Import into your environment and get those models to production a lot quicker than you would have otherwise. So with that, we'll leave 5 minutes for Q&A. So yeah, we'll leave some time for Q&A. You can come on up or whatever. Otherwise, I think that is all for the session. Thank you, thank you. Any last words, Pradeep, Prasad?
Yeah. So we had a tight schedule, so we couldn't pack as much content as we could. Like you saw all the capabilities, right? There are far more advanced capabilities that you can definitely try. This is just a get started type of session, right? And you saw Roberto switch between different personas, right? He used notebooks, he used ML, he used Databricks SQL, right? So all of that is on a single environment, and then in the back end, it's all just data in a data lake, right? All the data is in one place, but you're just switching personas just to make it user-friendly for the type of persona, right? So please play around with it. You have the environment for end of the week, until end of the week. So yeah, thanks. Thanks for joining.
Sure. Can you add him a mic? Yeah, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to stay. Feel free to come up, whatever,
Okay. So I just wanted to understand, like in this AutoML, does it automatically identify that it's a regression problem versus a classification and so on?
Great question. So that's one of the UI inputs, is you would tell it the problem type.
Oh,
So you would
I
say
see.
classification
Okay,
or regression
okay.
or forecasting.
All right. I didn't see that, sorry.
What's that?
No, I didn't see that we had to mention that. Okay, makes
Yeah.
sense now. All right.
Absolutely. Thanks, y'all. Enjoy the rest of the session. Hopefully we catch you on Wednesday.
Yeah. So for the folks joining live, I know you did not have the Cloud Labs environment, like the lab environment, for you to follow through. but feel free to start a Databricks trial with your personal account and use the quick start guide that's in the Slack channel, and go ahead and play around with it. So thanks for joining.